And welcome to the Writer's Life, a place where we get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, where we get the truth about the writer's life. Subscribe if you haven't already. Punch the like button, tap the bell for notifications, so that you don't miss out on one single exciting video. I might as well put the chat on just in case. No one has a clue that I'm on today. So something I've been meaning to talk about for a while, but I haven't gotten around to it because I was either traveling or writing and whatever. And that is how I get around the fact, not the fact, but how I get around writing when I don't feel like it. Some people, there's like several schools of thought here. Like, for instance, I had this one writing teacher in writing school back in the mid '90s, and he would only write when he felt like writing, which meant like he put out a book like every 3 or 4 or 5 years, something like that. And then he spent his time teaching people how to write, sort of. Um, that to me is like you're more teacher than writer, you know. Um, and then there was another teacher who was there who I don't even know why they allowed him to teach there, but he wrote one novel. He wrote and published one novel, and not a notable one at that. Well, I mean, God rest his soul, he's passed away, but uh, I could never understand that one. And there was a lot of this. That was like a general thread through the whole thing. Like, writing, you have to like take your time. And, one writing teacher told me, don't write your fiction on the laptop or a typewriter, um, or on the word processor, which back then they still had word processors. He told me, do your nonfiction on the laptop, but always write your fiction by hand, which is not bad advice, actually. Not bad advice. But I go quickly, so I use my laptop. I no longer write by hand, and my handwriting is terrible. It's chicken scratch, terrible. It's like a combination cursive and the opposite of cursive. So I can't even understand it sometimes. Um, and then there's just so many people who say they're writers, but they don't write. They bitch, and they're just lazy. They're like, I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. But I'm a writer. No, you're not. You're a wannabe, maybe, but you're not a real writer. This is a writer, a professional writer. Um, you get up in the morning, and whether you feel like making those donuts or not, you make the donuts, right? I mean, that's a cliche by now, but you just like I've said before, you wake up on Monday morning, it's cold out, it's rainy, you got a whole week ahead of you, and you're like a bricklayer, and yeah, you got to go to that job, put on you know, your rain gear and go to that job. Maybe you're a fisherman even, and you got to go outside in the elements, and you got to do your job. You don't feel like it, and in fact, you feel like quitting sometimes, but you got to do it. A heart surgeon. Sometimes he gets up and you don't think of these things, right? Like a heart surgeon, he might get up in the morning and be like, "Who am I operating on today? I really don't feel like it. I'm not in the mood." You don't want that heart doctor working on you that day. Um, you just got to get into the mindset. Get up, have your coffee, you know, have that heart set. And you especially don't want your pilot to be like, I don't feel like flying today. It's just not in me today. It's just not coming. Just don't feel like it. Folks, we're sorry, but the pilot doesn't feel like flying today. We'll issue refunds at the desk. Not going to happen. Although flying does suck today. You actually, when take it from me, and I'm sure a bunch of you know this. When when you show up for your flight, there's like a 25 to 30% chance you ain't flying that day, or and like another 50% chance that it's at least going to be delayed a bunch of hours. And that's just the way it is now. It sucks. Um, Hopefully that'll be remedied soon. Um, Here's what I do. I don't even look at writing it's it's something you have to love. Although I do love doing it, I have to admit. To me, it's not work; it's a hobby. I don't look at it in terms of that. I look at it in terms of a job because it is my job. I look at it in terms of and I've told you this before. If I worked, say, for Fox Studios or Disney or one of those outfits, which I don't even know if they used to years ago have writers right on staff, right in the studios. They might still do that. I don't know a lot about Hollywood, so I'm not sure how it works. But in any case, they would hire you for 8 hours a day. Like that's your job. You're gonna work on the Lucy show and write scripts for 8 hours a day. That's your job, and we're gonna pay you well for it. And so when I sit down to write every day, I consider myself employed by Bear Media. That's my employer, and I'm expected to put out a certain number of words every day. I could take breaks. They're really good to me. They let me take time to work out, take a nap, stuff like that. They're really good. It's a really good employer. But they do expect me to get the work out in. And they also expect me to work 7 days a week unless I'm traveling or out doing something fun, which is not a bad deal because I can't. I'm not, like there. I will admit there are days where I'm like, maybe it's too rainy to go fishing, or I've already worked out, I've already taken a nap. There's no snow on the ground yet because it's not ski season. I'm not traveling, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the afternoon off, and then I just go like this. What am I going to do with my time? So you know what I do? I sit down and write. The only other thing I could do if I insist on taking time off, because you should, if you need a break, you need a break, of course, is read. Then read, or maybe watch a movie, something like that. But I read at night anyway, and I watch at least part of a movie at night, and I'll finish it up the next day or something like that. Or if I find something I want to stream, a series I want to stream, I'll do that. But that's all at nighttime when I'm relaxing, because I always make sure to quit every day at around 5 o'clock. That's it. I cut it off. No overtime with Bear Media. That's the only thing. They won't pay you for overtime. I'm being facetious. I'm joking. I get paid for every word I write because every word I write gets published one way or another. My only problem is I still have a backlog of about 11 books that are still on my hard drive, and here I am, 35 pages into a brand new Moonlight, and I just started another short thriller today. Another one of my Twilight Zone-ish short stories. I want to start doing a short story a week, which shouldn't be too hard. Why am I doing that? This is totally tangential. I've been looking, me, I like to have like a little nonfiction project on the side, just a part-time remote thing. Doesn't have to be difficult. I'm not looking to work for the New York Post or something like that. Not at all. I'm looking, it can be the most basic blogging job. So long as it brings in some decent money and I enjoy it, but I'd like to have that security of another kind of gig. And also it keeps my blogging or reporting or journalism chops going. You know what I'm saying? Sharpened, I should say. But I'm going to tell you something. I've been looking at stuff every day, and there's nothing out there. And the job that I did have that for 5 years, that was really good. And I'm friends with the owner still. We just exchanged some emails. He's like, I got to tell you, buddy, A lot of my clients are paying, or not paying. Rather, they're choosing to use AI for the content portion of the program, and like, what a bummer, right? So like, AI took my job. Not going to happen in fiction world though, so don't worry. Don't worry about that. But like I said, I always like to have something, a little something on the side, and I don't have that right now. So what am I going to do instead? I'm going to write a short story per week, and that might actually take up the slack in terms financially. Um, and even if it doesn't, I got like, I don't know, like 5 months to go before like I have like a payout, and then I have other stuff going on that like those the days of being concerned about anything like that are over. Um, in any case, I went off on this tangent. I'm sorry. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you don't feel like writing, do it anyway. Get yourself up out of bed, grab your tea or your coffee or hot chocolate or whatever the fuck you like, and go outside, take a breath, and get yourself into that mindset. And look at your watch and be like, okay, I'm expected to be at my writing desk by 8 o'clock, so I better get my ass in gear and get going. That's how you deal with not wanting to write. I will talk